So I was approaching 50. I was back in China where I wanted to be. I had the hidden asset of my China wife, who was very business orientated, and I came across a wonderful book. And while I think many of you are at a younger stage in doing your things from the start and still in your first sort of stage of being an entrepreneur, I came across this book called Second Acts. And it talks about how everyone in life should have a second act. If you're a lawyer or a doctor, you actually get to a stage in your life, around 40, 50, where you just want to do something else. And this was very telling for me. And it talks about what sort of things you should be doing. And similar to what a lot of the other speakers have been saying, define your passions. Identify strengths and weaknesses. Note your interests. What needs do your passions address? What's the business opportunity for your passions? What do you perceive your dream to be? And find the link. And that will actually direct you in the path of what you should be doing. But I decided that I'd had enough of corporate life. I know there's one or two people in the ad business. It's not a good business to be in. If a client decides to fire you, you have to fire half the staff. So I decided I would take 6 months to think of something to do. I went to Melbourne for 2 weeks, looking to try to find things that I could actually do in China, bring from Melbourne to China. After 2 weeks, I had 4 things on that list. At the same time, I was writing down things I could do in China that I knew weren't there. I had 53 things on that list. 4 in Australia, 53 in China. In fact, I've still got that list. And, you know, it really said to me, I need to get back in China. And one of the things, as I said, was Eastlink art auctions. I had a friend, Li Liang, who some of you may know, who was one of the pioneers of Mongshan 50. I called him up and said, I haven't seen any art auction businesses in China. I was a regular buyer in an art auction in Australia. I rang Li Liang and said, there's no art auctions, why isn't there? Maybe we could do one. And in a strange quirk of fate, he said, you know what? I've spent 18 months getting an art auction license, and I haven't done anything with it. I've only had it 2 weeks, and I need someone to push me, and will you work together? So bingo, we leveraged our combined talents, my marketing experience and his art experience to form this auction business. We used his gallery space, which was very big in Mongshan. We sourced art all around China. Our key target was the expat that would spend a few years in China and wanted to spend around $10,000 US to buy one piece of art that would become his take-home piece. He would then sit at home with his Lee's lounge room, with his art on the wall. His friends would come and they'd say, tell me about the painting, and then he would go and tell his China story. We had the first auction we ran in May 2007. We broke even, which I think was a pretty good thing to do on the first art auction. We faced challenges of the artists coming to bid for their own work, sending friends to bid for their own work, because we subscribe to an international auction database. So if any auction was held in any market, you could record the art and the price would be there. So that would then set the benchmark. So we had artists, brothers and others, uncles, everyone coming to bid for their own work to push the price up. We built the whole website to sell. We could have sold online, but we thought that would be just a bit too ambitious. We created a look, a logo with the bright colours. Did a lot of PR work. Leveraged our status. The Shanghai magazine has come and gone. Of course, Shanghai Daily is still there. We had to advertise a lot in the China press as well. That's the auction night. We had over 250 people come to the auction. So all of our auctions actually. It was all done using modern technology for China, and it was going pretty well. We run 3 auctions over a period of about 14 months. We had 150 pieces at each auction. Our pricing was around 8,000 RMB to 1.2 million. We had over 1,000 people to the previews. We had 120 to 150 people at the auction. We ended up selling on the phone to France, Germany, Italy, because the China art market was taking off and people were buying from there. And then killed by the GFC. 2009, expats started to go home. Our target wasn't working. No one had discretionary money to go through art, so we moved on. The other thing that I approached at that time, in fact, Jean-Michel Wu is here, like somewhere. He was the one that actually gave me the lead to this. He probably doesn't remember that, but he did. We got involved in a training program. It's a franchise training program called Bulletproof Manager. I was attracted to that because it had a great heritage. And selling to the Chinese businesses, it had a heritage of over 25 years history, taught in 35 languages, 40 countries, and to the top Fortune 500 companies, so I knew I could sell that. And the participants also loved it. So we acquired that franchise, which today my wife runs. At the same time, I was talking to an Australian media company. There's been a lot more desire by advertisers and clients to have more scrutiny of media investment and where they spend their money. I was talking to a small Australian company that had a very low footprint in Asia. And we had a grand plan that I would come on, build a business in North China. We would then sell to someone, probably Accenture, and then away we would go. We'd written up business plans, we'd had several meetings, and then all of a sudden I detected that the decisions weren't happening as fast as they could. So what happened was that they had been offered a payout or to sell their company by Accenture before I had joined, before I had done all the paperwork, so it was quite disappointing. So I was left high and dry, or so I thought. What happened was Accenture said, we want you to do exactly what you were going to do for yourself, and we'll pay you for it. So there I was faced with quite a difficult decision. Go back to the corporate life with Accenture, which was a very different sort of company that I'd worked for before consulting, or stick to my 2 joint ventures that I'd started in terms of the training and the art auction. And given the downturn, the prospect of a regular paycheck in an industry that I knew in a new way was something that was pretty appealing, so I took that job. And I was doing that for around 4 years and took on an Asia job where another corporate job came up running the Omnicom business, which is what I'm doing now. So it's quite interesting that a lot of people will tell you that it's hard to change jobs as a foreigner in China. But if you have crossed that barrier of being here long enough to be regarded as a China expert, it's actually pretty easy. So the other thing that I mentioned that we're involved in is that just as a financial investment, and I get involved in a few little things at sort of board level with some of their investors, is the work that we're doing now doing with Domino's Pizza. So Boost Juice was the first, sorry, Subway was the first. We added Boost Juice, we added Gloria Jeans. We've actually exited all those businesses and are now working with Domino's. And they have very big ambitions. So that slide has gone completely haywire since my PPT, but let me tell you what it's really about. I love to maximise my time. Like all of us in this room, I'm sure we're that sort of people. I'm still first in the office and probably last to turn off the computer at night. So what I've thought about, how can I leverage my China experience while I'm here to make the most of it? And the 2 lessons that I have is work hard to stay ahead of your job. If you do have a corporate job, you've really got to keep going at that and make sure it works. And then of course use that cash flow that you can generate to do all the other interesting things. And again, that one's gone a bit haywire as well. So my framework for success in China, get to know China, become an expert. It's key to do that. Network and leverage contacts. I could not have done anything that I've done. Changing jobs, doing the art venture, getting involved with now Domino's, getting involved with the Crestcom without contacts, and that's key. Be passionate and focused and link the interests and passions. And of course, the last one is be patient and be prepared for U-turns. Remember, in China, You're always one phone call away from disaster at any one point in time. So hopefully in that time I managed to convince you that you can have it both ways. You can have a corporate job, you can have outside interests, and you can ride the China dragon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doug.